Okay, welcome to the Committee of the Whole. The date is Monday, January 26th, time is 6:01, I believe. And with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Second item is the adoption of the agenda. Any changes, or do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move.
Moved by Councillor Abbott, second by Councillor Cunliffe. Any amendments or changes?
No.
No? Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. With that, we'll go to public participation. Anyone in the gallery wish to speak?
Question for the council. One of the items on the agenda was largely drafted by John Robb, who's in the audience, and the other one by Norm Warmeyer, who told me he was going to attend, but he's not here. If we get to those items, rather than either of them taking 2 minutes up front, could we write them up to table to be part of the presentation?
I'm fine with that. Other councillors?
Yes,
Committee of the Whole, sure.
Okay, so in that case, I don't think any.
All right. No one in the gallery wishes to speak now. How about online, Crystal?
No.
No, okay, with that, we'll move to item number 5, the approval of the November 13th, 2025 minutes. Do we have a motion for that?
So much.
Second by Councillor Abbott. Any amendments, changes? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, approval of the January 12th, 2026 minutes. Do we have a motion for that?
Fine.
Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Cunliffe. Any amendments, changes?
Not for me.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, business arising. Any business arising from members?
I have none. I have none.
Okay, we'll move right to item 8.2, Climate Action Committee, and that would be, let's see, we put the minutes. One moment, oriented. Oh. Okay, we've got 2 studies and recommendations. Councillor Abbott. And Dad.
I could introduce the first one.
All right.
Likes. So this is the one that I was thinking Norm Barmeyer would be here to present, but seems to have got held up. I think council are fairly aware of this topic of the fleet electrification. There is a grant available through the Green Municipal Fund, which would allow us to go have a study like this done. It's an 80% grant. It wouldn't only be electrification, it would also include any possible other fuel technologies that are on the way. Hydrogen fuel cells will be one of them. But there's termed electrification because I'm told even fuel cells are considered electrification. The grant, DMF grant, typically 50%. We've done this before. We're a small community, under 10,000, so we get 80%. You can get additional points for First Nations and other local involvements. We don't, although we managed to do that in the previous grant, we don't see that in this one. There's a likelihood, but we could still explore it. So it would probably just be 80%. The direction or the ask is that council agree to this, or agree to the submission of the grant application. That staff support us with the grant application, and in the likelihood that we get the grant, and let's say likelihood, we could go straight to an RFP process. Norm Barmeyer actually submitted a template RFP. He's kind of in aligned industry, for those who don't know. He does a lot of hydrogen fuel cell conversions. is somewhat aligned, so he submitted a potential template just to give staff maybe a bit of a go by, make it easier. The funding would come from the LG cap funding. It is a perfect fit for what LG cap money is meant to be spent on, exactly what the mandate describes. We have $112,000 left to be spent by the end of 2027. And that is all the LG cap money we'll be getting until the province comes up with whatever the next program is. There will be one, or if they extend LG cap, every municipality got given 3 years money in advance. And I've told everyone that before. Yeah, that's it. I could take some questions, explore a bit further, or put forward the motion.
All right, why don't we go around the room and see if there's any questions? Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barry. Councillor Evans, so let's use the upper side for the study, $50,000. 10% of that, or 20% of that is 20 grand. I think you're looking for 15 grand. Maybe I got the math very wrong. First question is what's our cash contribution to the subsidized fund?
Okay, so the study is expected to be 40 to 50,000. So if we use 50,000, the upside of that is 20% of that is 10. And we also, you can, oh yeah, so there's the grant writing costs. So the suggestion of the committee is we might get some help to do the grant writing. And that if we outsourced it, that is kind of staff decision. If we outsourced it, that would be $2,000 to $5,000. And we're suggesting that would come from the LG Cap Reserve Fund as well. So that wouldn't be something we need to raise taxes for, but you know, do we need that? Is it too, will largely depend on staff's availability. So I think the 15 was 10 or 20% of 50, plus which is the upside, plus the upside of sourcing the grant writing to an outside entity.
Okay, and if I may, the second question, so this is going to be the blueprint for the future based on the here and now of what vehicles might cost now. I'm not focused on the cost of the vehicle. Actually, let me do this again. What are we expecting from the study?
This is a forward-looking study, long-term. We'll come up with a recommended plan, an appropriate plan over time of how the village fleet may be electrified. And obviously in subsequent years, subsequent councils will then approve as it will be a plan, forward-looking strategy plan.
So this would be vernacularly the infrastructure master plan of electrification of the fleet.
Sure.
Okay, so it's the here and now, what's likely to happen with the vehicles that we would use, and perhaps some costs. Okay.
Infrastructure as well. It's not just the actual vehicle itself.
It's the infrastructure.
Okay, Councillor Benoff.
And by infrastructure, you're meaning like actual charging stations?
If that's the way it goes, if it's electric charging stations, but something else, something else.
Oh, okay, so if you went hydrogen.
I don't know what it looks like if we go hydrogen, but yes, there's no limits on the study. It's a forward-looking, some consultant, what do you think we'll be doing in 10, 15 years' time? What do we do now to prepare for it?
Okay, Councillor Broughton.
I really like the idea of, basing our next decisions on great data. 40 to 50,000 seems like a lot for this study to me for some reason, but I guess that's where it's at. It seems to me that
A small number for studies in general. I think this one, we did pick that number based on a small community. It's not the number you'd
normally see there. Yeah.
It's not a lowball number.
Yeah.
We're probably comfortable. We should probably well underspend it. But.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that it's looking at all different possibilities. I was in Qualicum a few days ago, and happened to be on a side street. Took a picture of the Ford Lightning, But in front of it was an F-150 regular, and behind it was a Chev. So they'd be an interesting group to talk to in terms of they would have a comparison of what their vehicles are doing. So anyway, it seems like a good idea to pursue.
Okay, general, I'm for it. Don't see any negatives, unless our staff maybe has some input on how this might mesh with any programs that you've got. I know you've looked at the fleet vehicles in the past and weighed out the electric versus fuel. Will you be participating in this, or how do you see staff's input coming?
Well, you've heard me say that staff don't support electrification of the fleet. It's not the right solution for a community like Lions Bay for a number of reasons that I've already said. Certainly, it puts us at a disadvantage. It's expensive. And from a financial perspective, I would suggest that given all of the costs coming down the pike for various things, to me, this is a low priority study. That money could be utilized more importantly for all kinds of other pressing infrastructure issues and other issues. The beach park, for example. So to me, it uses some of the high level concerns. This is something that staff has to do. We're required to do it. If council's direction is to proceed with it, it's not a volunteer committee that can do this. It's not appropriate. It's staff that has to take this on. So, we heard at the last council meeting that council was aligned to add an 80-hour workload to an already full staff volume of work, so we have to make space by taking some things off the table. This is another demand, so this is this is why council does the strategic planning, is to sort of set the goalposts, and the organization works to deliver the priorities within that scope. But it's very common for sort of new issues to pop up, and it's important to be responsive to those new issues. But what has to happen when these new issues pop up is that it's important for council to consider if something else is going to go into the basket, something has to come out. Can't just keep adding more to the basket.
So it's the committee's role, I guess, to give recommendations to council. Obviously, all of council's here, but the IC committee, or the climate action committee. Before they spend an inordinate amount of time on this, how can you integrate some of your thoughts into that process so that we can balance it out so it doesn't go all the way down the road and everyone's spent a lot of time unnecessarily, or perhaps it's positive. So where do you see yourself integrating?
Well, obviously this is council's decision. Council is so minded to go down this road, then you'll have a report, perhaps recommendations in the report. And I would anticipate that there would be dollar amounts associated with the various recommendations. So at that point in time, that council could choose to act on any of those recommendations, seek more information, ask staff to provide feedback. All kinds of options exist.
Where do you see, just so people don't waste time, is there some ideas that you have that where money raised would be better spent so that they don't go all the way down this path and put recommendations together? I'll come to you just.
Before we answer, then I need to say something. Before we answer.
When we go down this path, you've already thrown out that there's other baskets that would be more appropriate. How are you going to put that forward before, again, a committee spends a lot of time, devotes their energies and puts forward a proposal that it doesn't sound like you'd be in favor of?
Well, this is sort of one of the tricky decisions any council is going to have to make when these opportunities come along. It's important for any given council to sort of weigh these things in terms of. Is it affordable? What is the significance of the impact? Does it make sense in the short term versus long term? Are there other priorities? Is there staff capacity to support these processes? Are there competing demands for the funds? What was the tax increase for whatever given budget year, et cetera? So all of these sort of considerations need to be contemplated by council to determine whether or not whatever proposal is at the right time, or is a priority or not a priority, et cetera. That's council's purview.
Councillor Abbott.
Please, me too, thank you. Yeah, we're going down the wrong path. Let me start over again. These are LGCAP funds. You cannot spend them on the beach park or any other things. LGCAP money needs to be spent on these type of activities and it needs to be reported every year. This is exactly what the LGCAP money funds are provided for. It's exactly what they ask us to do with this money. Committee has considered every year we refresh how we're going to spend the LGCAP money. What have we spent so far? A few years ago, we wanted to do something like this. We couldn't do it because we thought the hall was going to oil burning, getting off the oil burning was the most important thing. We thought it was going to cost more money. Eventually it didn't, thanks to staff and others. So now we've got $112,000 left. We have to spend it by 2027. If we do this and all that staff do is identify a consultant and don't do any work, it'll cost $15,000 out of the $112,000. We will still have money left over to consider what is the next most important thing to do. According to the mandate of both LGCAP and our committee, greenhouse gas emissions are one of the key goals. This is exactly what we asked to do. The study comes out at the end of the day and says Lions Bay should never electrify because of where they live on the side of a mountain and what technology is not there these days. That is exactly that question we were supposed to answer. All we were trying to do is answer the question.
But you just clarify, so that LGCAP money, I wasn't referring to being spent at the beach park. I was talking about the municipal contribution.
You see it at the beach park.
I'm saying there's a list of other priorities that are not
So
LGCAP.
let me phrase that again. We have a reserve fund for the LGCAP money. It goes into a reserve fund. The municipal contribution is coming from the reserve fund. We're not taxing for it. We discuss this every year in the budget. It's the reserve fund that's sitting there with $112,000. We'd have to draw down on and spend it on this kind of thing or give it back in 2 years.
Okay, Councillor Broughton.
One of the things
Councillor Connell,
that I hope we don't lose in the discussion is the replacing of the bylaw vehicle with an electric vehicle. I think that's a smaller electric vehicle. I don't know whether it's worthwhile to, before we move forward with a study, to check in with, say, Fulham. They have 3 different kinds of vehicles. Quick go on that. But basically, I think the more information we have to make a really long-term decision, the better. So I think we should go with this.
As to what other municipalities will do, I think we have a source closer to home. I haven't discussed it with Eric, but I see he's on the line. Westland have electric F-150s, so I'm sure we can get at some point some data on their experience, learnings, pros and cons. So I'm sure we can find that out and Eric can get it for us.
Councillor Connell.
Could you just give us a brief outline of the other types of things that the LGCAP funds should be spent on?
We have another one coming up in a minute.
Yeah,
With John Robb.
I saw that one. But just for-
you can spend it on buying an electric vehicle. So it is originally, well, in the Carib days, it was greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
It is now greenhouse gas emissions or climate resilience. So an example of climate resilience coming up next.
So
This fits perfectly into it. Both of them.
purchasing an electric vehicle for Vila, for example, you could use LGCAP funds to put towards that.
We had one suggested that.
Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell,
For the
have
different,
your hand up.
Just for council's benefit, one of the projects that we did at the Country Valley Regional District was to install photovoltaic at the the transfer station. So that most of the facility now runs off the photovoltaic. And so the works yard might be an interesting opportunity to utilize photovoltaic for energizing a lot of their power needs.
Good. Okay, Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barry. In the hearing now, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward proposal. We're going to get a report back within 3 months, 4 months. Councilor Abbott, what's our time frame there?
I wasn't providing
Well,
any more. I was have a
no,
recommendation yet.
okay, so we're gonna have a roadmap for the future. I like that a lot. I like how the payment structure is. CAC is doing exactly what council has asked them to do with research and come up with the best thing and make a recommendation and done that. How this may fit in the future, I'd like to see the fleet. And if there are other things that staff thinks should go to the CAC that might have more priority than this, they can talk to the chair. And CAC can consider exploring those.
Okay, any other comments? No, okay, Councilor Abbott.
So this was written as a motion because it was meant to be at a council meeting. And I was told it wasn't appropriate, it needed to come to a committee of the whole meeting. I'm happy for it. I hope this committee would recommend that I can put the motion at the council meeting, and maybe I could do that in 2 hours' time.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, you got your hand up?
Yeah, it's totally appropriate for committee of the whole to pass a resolution making a recommendation to council.
Mayor, so moved.
Okay.
So moved.
All right, second,
Second,
all in favor?
Yes,
yeah,
Opposed? Motion carried.
should I read it? Should I read what we've actually just passed?
You should.
No worries.
All right, go ahead.
Or everyone else has read it?
Yeah. Don't
Don't have
jump,
to,
don't
okay.
jump ahead, cowboy.
As written, okay.
Go ahead.
I don't need to read it.
You should read it for the folks online.
Okay, the council directs staff with the support of the Climate Action Committee to apply to the Federation of the Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund for funding to undertake a municipal electrification transition study targeting up to 80% grant funding for the study and that staff prepare a request for proposal for a qualified consultant to deliver the study, including optional grant writing support, with any contract award contingent on successful grant funding. I would like to make an amendment on the fly. It's not targeting up to, it is 80% grant. We can take the targeting up to, in case anyone's concerned, it's going to be less than 80%. It is 80%.
Okay, all in favor with the amendment? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the options for natural assets inventory. And John, would you like to join the table?
Thank you.
Am I going now?
All right,
Yeah, you go.
go ahead.
You do.
Okay, so this is a recommendation, and we're looking for the committee of the whole to support in principle the need for creation of a natural asset inventory. It's the first step in developing a strategy and management plan to use natural assets and infrastructure, that's all concrete to everything, together to ensure the sustainability of the community in the face of climate change risk. So we have 2 proposals already in our hand, and we are taking those for consideration tomorrow, and I believe we may need to look at a third one as well. And so this is at this point, we're just looking for an agreement in principle to support this work before we bring an actual recommendation on a proposal itself. Why would we do this? Well, in the long term, we are facing solid scientific evidence that there's increased weather variability and rising water levels that puts a village like Lions Bay at risk. And this is a long-term initiative to help protect us there. And obviously, we protect ourselves by having concrete and walls and buildings, etc. But every village like Lions Bay or town like Lions Bay also has a whole bunch of natural assets that also protect the village as well. There's trees, types of trees, foreshore, and other that help as well. If you're going to use nature-based solutions, then you want to know what you have and the condition assessment for those nature-based solutions. So you can do one of two things. One, you want to make sure you don't damage something over the longer term that's used to protect the community. That's climate change resilience. Or you can choose to enhance some of your assets to help us protect us in the future, and that's climate change mitigation. But none of this can be done unless you know what you've got and you know what the condition of your assets are to start with. And so the natural asset inventory will do that.
Great. Councillor Abbott, anything to add before we open up for questions?
Oh, I should state as well, this is also LG cap monies as well.
I'll just touch on what John said, but possibly getting another quote and just explain a little bit of how this evolved. So one of the proposals here is to do this over a 16-month period with a local university and one of their postgraduate students doing a lot of the work. It's 50-50 contribution. They pay half, we pay half. It's considerably more economical, obviously, than going out to get a consultant. We have various pros and cons. That was the original proposal. When John started putting this together and started asking some questions, and we had been introduced to other people from Gibson's and so on in the past at the Climate Action Committee, we started to consider the other option of going to a consultant. So we have one proposal from a consultant. If we decide to go to the consultant route, we would have to follow the procurement policy, which means we probably have to go out and RFP and get 3 quotes. So that's why this is a kind of loose approval in principle. The next steps depend on whether the committee think the student route is better or the consultant route is better. We have to bring that back again. So there's a little bit of an evolved thing to happen here. The reason I was pushing it for this earlier, if we go the student route, there is a time restraint. Because the students are getting back now, she has to go put out an RFP and have someone on the job by the end of February. So there's a bit of a time restraint there. And how that's going to play out, we may pass that, we may pass it up for another year. I don't know what we're going to do. The committee's going to go back, consider this some further. They have given it a lot of thought, but now they're going to give it some more thought. So it will be coming back to council.
Mr. Blackwell?
Thanks, just for the record, any RFPs, et cetera, have to come to your staff. Staff have to deliver these things.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
Oh yeah, committee's well aware of it. That's why all we've done now is speak to people, got a budget number, we know that.
Great.
Okay, we'll go around the table again. Councillor McLaughlin?
Thank you very much, Mayor Berry. Thank you to the CAC and the key members who presented this report and recommendation. In the spirit of the recommendation going back to the committee, which will then go back to council, I'm in favor of that. And appreciate the use of the LCAP money, and I like where this is going.
Okay, Councillor Cunliffe?
Thank you for putting this together. I know this was identified last term as a priority for the CAC to do, so we're coming to fruition here. It just makes sense. I saw the presentation that the lady from Gibson's had given us, and it's very convincing. And why would we use concrete when we already have something that exists in nature? So.
Okay, Councillor Broughton?
Yeah, I went to a presentation up in Gibson's and very impressed with how they proceeded, and thank you for this presentation. It's great.
Just one question, how will it fit in with some of the studies that are underway now, or that the province and the metro have talked about with some of the tributaries, and that would you reach out to them, or how would you integrate some of that work? And maybe Mr. Blackwell might be able to comment, because I think staff is working with or is aware of some of the programs that are underway.
So I'd like to
And again, this is, I guess the one thing I'm trying to bring up is how can, staff work closely or closer with the committees, just to be able to help guide things and not waste everyone's time if we're going down the wrong path or something.
Well, I'll take the first cut at this. So natural assets inventories. Think about it as a Venn diagram. It's its own body of work that provides key information. There's another body of work which is specific to sort of hazards. And then there's the response realm. Somewhere in the middle of all these things they touch. When I talk about response realm, I'm talking about policy, regulation, etc. There's a place in the middle where they all come together. This won't address everything. The sort of risk analysis of geotechnical and other issues won't answer the same things this does. It will touch on some of the same things. It won't answer the same things. So they need to be stitched together. It's like bookends, so left hand, right hand. So they work together in order to paint a bigger, more fulsome picture.
Well,
All right, Councillor Abbott.
touch on one thing you said there about the other studies we're doing and this whole idea of risk assessments and hazard assessments, which we all quite something seem to overlap. First, I thought that we were going to actually do some sort of risk assessment out of that, but there isn't. There is they do look at the risks, but the risks are more of the risk of losing the asset as opposed to the other things that we need to do and thinking about. So I think there might be something that informs something else.
For sure.
But it's not going to do something. One of those.
This is about green infrastructure is another. Yeah.
Okay, anything else, on that?
No, we're very conscious of CEO's previous comments about the staff time, and if you add things in, you gotta drop something. I look at in my paid life every day. So I think part of what we need to consider the CAC is how much volunteer time they can provide to support staff and take as much of that load off as well. So that's something we should factor into our discussions.
Good, hey, for those online that happen to hear some bouncing, there is an important game going on downstairs.
Is it that important?
A one-on-one basketball game, I understand, but,
Hmm.
all right. Councillor Abbott, did you have a motion that you want to put forward?
Well, as I said, we don't have a motion to put forward on this one yet, because we're going to take it back to the CAC tomorrow night.
Recommendation is that supports in principle.
A recommendation to support in principle, whatever comes out of tomorrow night, but whatever comes out of tomorrow night might not be something you want to support. So,
Can I make a recommendation? We can put that on the February 3rd agenda, which is not far away.
okay. So that'll be great. So yeah, we will bring to committee's recommendation to the February 3rd regular council meeting agenda.
Okay,
That would be acceptable.
it's good, thanks for all the information, appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Ron. Okay, item 8.2.4, we should have probably struck that, initially. There was a request for the tree committee to, sit with council. That request has been put out to them. So they're available at the next, council meeting. I did assure them that the council, if they had some questions, they'd put them forward. Yeah.
I'd like a motion to table it to the next committee of the whole, so you.
Be happy,
All right.
be happy with the strike on this one. I think it's gonna come through here. Let's just clean it up. If they come, they come.
Okay, either way, what do we have to just move forward? We don't need a motion to it.
We're inviting some. Yeah, because it's on the agenda, it'd be good to.
Okay,
Refer
the motion is to defer it to the next regular
John.
council, refer it to the next regular council meeting.
So moved.
And also, council weigh in and put forward any questions that they have, because I think the committee, would appreciate that. Okay,
Through you.
yeah,
Through you.
I've already sent them a
Thank you
request,
very
so
much.
good. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, that was moved by Councilor McLaughlin, second by Councilor Darden. Okay, we have, highway noise monitoring, 8.3.1. Okay, Councillor Out.
Okay, I was hoping resident Vince Reichy was gonna join us. He has texted me, and he seems to have got tied up at the mining roundup. Maybe I should have been it.
You should be good with this.
I should have been there, but I'll take this one. But Crystal, if you do see someone pop up there. So there's a little bit of a story to this. I mean, I think everyone knows the issue. I don't need to go into the issue of highway noise. Residents' concern about its connection to speeding, and one doesn't necessarily equate to the other, but they are somewhat connected. I know you can go fast without making noise, but when you make a lot of noise, normally you are going fast. Previous councils and on Carl Buer's term, there's a lot of energy put into average speed over distance, which the province was meant to do a pilot project, which hasn't happened. I should know why, but I could go into that another time. Vince Reich is a resident, been here for a few years, renting up a mountain, bought a house in Kelvin Grove, moved down there, and he's fresh ears, noticing the noise that everyone else became accustomed to, started the conversation again, what can we do, what do we try to do? And then introduced me or asked me to speak to a Port Moody councillor, who got a motion passed at UBCM, I think it was the Vancouver one 2 years ago, for the province to do a pilot study on noise pollution, with a view to finding a means to enforce, because we have laws about noise levels, but generally not enforced, or certainly not actively monitored. That passed, but nothing happened, and Port Moody decided they wanted to push this along. So I agreed to meet with Samantha at the UBCM in Victoria, and we discussed this. Also involved John French from.
Who did you meet in Victoria?
Hey?
Who did you meet? Who did you meet?
Samantha Agata, their name in
Okay.
there. Is there Samantha? Forget pronounce.
Oh, right, okay.
Samantha Agata.
Right.
Agata, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Bad at me. Anyway, we met, and John French was there because of this overlap with what we've done on ARCD in the past, tried to do. Their situation is somewhat different to ours. They are strictly concerned about the noise, and the noise created by loud exhaust pipes and those things. And they do correlate that it seems to occur with speed, but they've focused on the noise. We, as Lions Bay residents, have residents that complain about the noise. It is a health hazard, but I think as a council, well, I won't speak for everyone else, but I think there's a bigger concern, another concern about the speed. So while this doesn't address speed or average speed over distance, when Vince started talking to me, the idea was, can you have a camera that does both? It takes a photograph if you're noisy and if you're speeding, and come out with average speed over distance. There are places in other parts of the world, Europe, they actually do that. It's not what we're proposing here. What Samantha decided to do at Port Moody was start to gather data. Because the province isn't doing anything, she's concerned that her resolution is not going anywhere. So decided to gather data. So they went out and researched various technologies. They came up with this one. We took this technology, spoke to the Director of Operations, confirmed that it is suitable to be used in our infrastructure. What it is, it's a sensor that goes on top of one of the light masts. It still controls the light as well, so you don't lose any of that functionality. And it will measure noise. It's got a software behind it that analyzes that and gives you a printout report. I just got a report earlier from Port Moody of their first set of data, and it's really interesting. So the idea is purely data gathering, purely giving us information to look at and analyze, potentially to then come up with a plan or to promote somewhere else. Whether it's a connection back to ASOD or something else that we want to take back to the province. It's just some data gathering. That's all we're asking to do. We are suggesting 2 cameras, or 2 sensors. One on either side of the village. And I'm trying to remember the costs. I think the each one is, call it $1,000 for the first year. That's the installation and the hardware. And then it's $400 annually after that if you keep using the software and the programs in the background. Yeah, that's it. I'll pause a bit, yeah.
Okay, we'll go around the table. Councillor Broughton has his hand up. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay, really appreciate the work on this. This is great. The highway noise task force that was set up in, what was it, December of 2022, have gathered a lot of information on noise, and the work that had been done by the ministry previously. So I think that this data is really important stuff. I think it's really important that we work towards a vehicle to get that. One of my concerns would be the location of where you're collecting the sound, because it seems to me there will be some real possibilities to use that data to compare with the materials that the ministry has provided and all the studies that were done, and there were a million studies done earlier on. So, I think before we start placing these things, I think we need to look at how that would integrate, how the data could be best used. So that would be one thing I would want to check in with. There were a couple of members on the highway task force who did quite a bit of research on that. So I'd really like to check in with them and then come back with this.
Sorry,
Who
we
is-
saw that Vince has just joined.
Vince has joined us.
Councillor Connell.
I just noticed that, but I did have a question to speak to Councillor Broughton's point on the location. Once these are installed, are they stationary? Can you have them for 6 months in one area and then move them to another?
So you could, okay, let me just, I might ask Vince to step in, or Vince, step in if I get this wrong. So I think the difference between this and the other information that you mentioned, or anecdotal information where someone went down and took a snapshot with just one sensor in one place.
Mhm.
The difference, the intention of this is it's long-term, it's permanent, it's not targeting its own year.
Right.
So it's there all the time. Can you move them? Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. You go back up the lamp pole with your picker truck and you take it and put it on another one.
Yeah.
Can you add to them? Yes. The idea would be good to look at what the information is. The idea would be pick the location one at the beginning, either side of the village, and leave them there for a long time. That was the idea.
Right.
Would it make sense to move them? Potentially. I don't know. Vincent, you got any comment on that?
Before we go to Vince,
Sure.
we'll go through the chair, but Mr. Blackwell had his hand up.
Thanks. Just to Councillor Abbott's point, so as an urban designer, I studied this a lot, urban design concepts that I've had to work on. There's sort of key categories of noise. And that is deceleration, acceleration, but the greatest source of noise is tire noise. And basically the sound that's generated by the various tire treads. So if you're contemplating locations, you could expect to see a lot of noise at the south end as vehicles, especially trucks with jake brakes, slow down. Same at the other end. So in the middle is where you're going to have people coasting. That's going to be the quietest point. So all I'm suggesting here is if you look at the data from either end, that's going to be the noisy. Either end is the noisiest sections of the road. The quietest is in the center of the village. Generally speaking.
Mhm.
Okay, Councillor Broughton, then we'll go to Councillor Abbott, and Councillor Abbott, you want to draw on?
I just wanted to ask Vince if I answered Jamie's question correctly about that strategy, if he had any comment. That was all.
Vince?
Yes,
Any
yes,
comments?
Neville. I'm not sure if anyone can hear me. Sorry, I'm late to the meeting. I
We
had some
can.
technical issues with my laptop.
We can hear
Yes,
you then.
Neville, you are quite right. That unit can be removed and replaced on any lamppost that can accept it, right? So we've identified that certain lamppost that we can screw that unit into on the top. So wherever that lamppost is, we can put that unit onto that lamppost.
All right, thanks for that, Vince. Mr. Bird, do you want to give us any comments? Yeah, I know you've looked at this over the years and the time over distance and all sorts of the data. And I think everybody's in favor of reducing the noise if there's a way to do it.
Yeah, as Councillor Abbott says, thanks. There are two aspects to it. The average speed over distance proposition has two main goals. To reduce noise, but also to improve safety. The big challenge in Lions Bay, because we have a single access highway, when there is an accident, and it's often through Lions Bay where the cambers and sightlines and bend radiuses are deceptive, people find out too late that the speed they're going is too fast. They close the highway sometimes for many hours, which messes with a lot of people. This the argument that was presented to the province at the time, that it would behoove them to spend some money on mitigating that. In terms of noise itself, I will say that there was resistance at UBCM to the concept that Fussy Lions Bay was concerned about the noise on the highway. We very much predicated it as a safety thing, which it was. The noise came off the ride. Measuring noise cannot be subjective. The reason that the provincial law is not enforced is because it's subjective, according to the peace officer's opinion. Very hard to prove in court. There are, however, standard sound measures, how you normalize it and how you standardize it against reference standards. So it's very doable. At the cost, I would say it's almost a no-brainer just to gather the data and see what it says for a good while, 2 years, let's say, maybe, to understand what the baseline is, seasonality and all that stuff, and then potentially approach the province as yet another aspect of something why we want to control speed through Lions Bay. Again, I caution that the real reason you want to control speed through Lions Bay is safety.
Yeah, safety, yeah. The on-ramps are designed for certain speeds, etc. Yeah.
Exactly. The issue in Lions Bay has always been, as we know from our over high accident rate, property damage and fatal accident rates, is deceptive through here, and people find that the speed that they thought was acceptable. Too many people are doing so-called 85th percentile speed, which is what a prudent driver believes to be safe for a stretch of road. And in Lions Bay, they find out that the 85th that they're doing, which is about 90 kilometers an hour, meaning everybody, 85% of drivers are doing at least 90 kilometers an hour. They find out too late, it's too quick. So they crash more than usual. So this is a very important piece of the puzzle. This council or another council might want to resurrect the average speed of distance proposition, but as far as public works is concerned, speaking, even though my title is now departing public works manager, I would say this is something we really need to know about for the benefit of our residents.
Councillor Conlon?
With the data collection, is it a timestamp? So let's say we have a spike in noise and then there is a fatal accident, the highway gets closed. Can you correlate that this noise happened just before this accident? Not that specific.
Very specific. The software behind that gives you all that data.
Okay.
Time, exactly when it happened, it's real time, it's
So-
recorded real time. I'm not sure if you can see it real time, but it's all done, so it's cloud-based. And it
So in
has,
the unfortunate situation that we did have something like that, we could go and get that, provide that.
well, would this be something that could be used in terms of court cases?
Not for
No.
a court case, but
Yeah.
to go to the province to support, say, a plea for average speed over distance, where we could say that we had 5 highway closures in this period of time, and the data showed that the noise levels had been heightened to this level at this time. So it's a direct correlation from somebody speeding causing noise resulting in a car accident.
Yeah, it's a tenuous connection. The issue with noise is a public health one, and it behooves us to do something about it. I know that in the last 10, 12 years, I've had a lot of people literally crying on my shoulder, literally crying, not figuratively crying, because it's just they can't go outside their houses in the summer. So is there a correlation to accident? Sure. We have speed data. It's that your speed is to slow down sign just to the north of the village, that log speed. Obviously only at that point. Google data will sell you data, and we have a speed study that shows this is where I get my average speed numbers, my 85th percentile speed numbers from. Google has that data available. They correlate it to the speed of the phone moving through the world, and then can extrapolate it to all phones.
I'm thinking kind of specifically like motorcycle. You hear that noise, it doesn't matter where you are in the village. Front, back, in the middle, it's piercing, and that's the kind of thing that is causing serious distress to residents.
Okay, Councillor Broughton.
There's when the highway was put in 2008, essentially, there was a commitment from the ministry to sound levels, and that is only as strong as our willingness to try to get it enforced. The quiet pavement was supposed to be replaced on a 10-year cycle, as I recall, and I think it was close to 15 years before it was replaced. And so I think that we need to really support the concept of having this data, and but I would like to see how it can be really made more powerful to enforce the highway commitment that's there, because the reason why we have the speed limit that we have is in part for safety, but it's was to generate a lower sound level. And we having spent better part of a decade on the highway safety committee, that the sound studies that have been done, there's data there. If we can then bring really, and probably much cleaner and better data, but I'm just saying that I'd like to ensure that we make sure that we get the best out of this. So I would encourage, I would love to meet with Mr. Reiki, and is it Reiki?
Yes, you can call me Vince.
And maybe put you in touch with some of the people who did a lot of research on the sound, and so that because it's one of these situations where 1 + 1 is 6 here. There's no downside to more data, more information, and more working together. So,
Mr. Blackwell, you had your hand up.
I was just gonna suggest that another option that council could consider is speed monitoring, because what is more telling than sound is vehicle speed. If you're able to determine the percentage of vehicles that are driving in excess of 60K, then you go to the RCMP and ask for more support with regard to these guys enforcing the speed limit.
If I can respond to that through the chair, that data is available, both point monitor at the light up sign there, and that data is available from Google in any report. We have a speed safety study from 2016-ish that has all the graphs. The usage on the highway has doubled since that period. Speeds are the same. There is a speed limit, it is 60, but nobody does it. So if you believe the Ministry of Transport redid their engineering around the speed limit and suggested that it needs to be 70, nobody does that either. They're doing 90, the 85th percentile, the prudent speed, people believe that their prudent speed to be 90 is what they're doing. That gets pretty noisy pretty quickly. We tried to induce the ministry to do a sound study. There were all kinds of representations that they would. When push came to shove, they reneged because essentially the answer came back that the stats indicate that the motorcycle use on this stretch of the highway is no different to the rest of the province. Therefore, they think that a noise study is not necessary. Well, if that isn't a get out, I don't know what is. So it would behoove us to have the data ready to present. Of course, it needs to be completely defensible, done to scientific standards against all sorts of sound engineering principles. That will start underscoring exactly what it is. We need something explicit to take to the province. And they're not about to generate that data themselves, at least not the highways ministry.
Okay, what was the suggestion, Councillor Abbott?
Just see what we actually wrote. Can we come up with a recommendation?
One more question.
Sure.
Can LCAP money be used for this initiative? If it is essentially, if we can get people to slow down, they're probably putting out fewer greenhouse gas emissions, less fuel consumption. I mean, there's an argument to be made there.
Might be a bit of a stretch.
It's a stretch, but why not try?
I think it's a stretch.
Creating a happier environment, a better
That's right.
environment. Sound is
Better
is crazy
fuel
making, there's no question.
Okay.
If I could just say through the chair, just on that, it's an important point. We do not count in our greenhouse gas inventory, nor do we want to take responsibility for the item.
Very good point. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Abbott, any
Um,
motion to put
so,
forward here?
yeah, the motion or the recommendation the community came up with, because we're the committee of the whole. That staff, the Lions-based staff review the information provided, and we've done some of that. Take all steps to execute an agreement with Electech for noise sensors and monitoring software, and reach out to staff of Port Moody, who have offered to give you their advice, to understand the decision that led them to adopting this technology, and the staff report back to council with their findings. That was the recommendation. Motion I came up with, because I thought it was going to a committee, to a council meeting.
Okay, mover, second.
Second, and one comment, it does say that it could 8 to 10 weeks, but could be expedited. So if this did move forward, kind of tail end of ski season, there's a bit of a lull between the real summer traffic. So to see what ski season versus the shoulder season versus like the summer season, then again, a little bit of a lull for.
Yeah.
And if that lull even happens anymore, it used to be significant. I think people use Whistler as a year-round playground, much more so than they did 15, 20 years ago, but it'd be interesting to see.
So as I said, Port Moody have just bought theirs, currently hammer they bought it in. Vince has had several conversations with these people. Send their PO, they're ready to go. So as fast as we can turn this around, they could have. And yeah, there's 8 to 10 weeks shipped out from Europe.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes,
Opposed?
thank you.
Good.
Sorry, motion carried.
Former
If you don't mind, I'll
Soon to be
start a
public
resolution.
I was gonna say, we could put it in.
The council.
Council meeting? Sure.
Get rid of that, reach out to Port Moody, because it's not another part of the other.
Okay, folks, any new business?
We did overachieve.
No, okay, we'll move to public questions in the gallery. Online.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Coming back to the Jake breaks, do we have a sign in the village that says Jake breaks are not allowed?
I don't think we do. There's one outside of Ansel Place when you approach
Yeah.
West Van, but we don't have one.
I think that would be a good
possible
idea. I don't know whether the village can do it or whether the highway has to. I've heard on a regular basis in the summertime, I'm sure others. I think there's 1 or 2 truckers that continually do it intentionally.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And just to kind of let everyone know they don't like to have to reduce their speed because the air brakes. Especially on a Saturday morning, you hear it.
Exactly.
Continually.
I've recently moved into Calvin Grove and I hear it a lot.
Yeah,
That's actually something that could be a conversation with the ministry, is to put restrictions on the use of Jake brakes for large vehicles through the stretch, because that's, as they say, slowing down, speeding up, but slowing down, you're gonna hear Jake brakes. That's a big.
yeah, no, whoever does it, it's probably the same people seem to do it intentionally. So if signs warranted further, I guess.
Who would we approach for that? The ministry? And there would be no reason for them to turn us down because they've done the exact same thing in West Vancouver and we're part of Metro as well. So.
I wouldn't presume anything.
I wouldn't assume anything either.
No, but.
Your rationale is strong. Let's leave it at that.
There we are.
Okay, anyone else online wish to speak? No, okay, a motion to adjourn, Moved by Councilor McLaughlin, second by Councilor Abbott, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. The special meeting will begin at 8 p.m. this evening. Enjoy your break.